Kagame's former bodyguard secret plot to kill, early life and military service. Joel Mutabazi was a high-ranking officer in the Rwandan military, serving as a bodyguard to President Paul Kagame. His journey in the armed forces began in the early 1990s when he joined the Rwandan Patriotic Army, RPA, the rebel force led by Kagame that eventually took power in 1994 after ending the Rwandan Genocide. Mutabazi's loyalty and service during this period earned him a prominent position in Kagame's elite security team, where he was tasked with ensuring the personal safety of the president. Over the years, he became a trusted figure within Kagame's security detail, known for his discipline and unwavering commitment to the regime. His knowledge of state security operations, access to classified information, and experience in handling high-profile threats made him an integral part of Rwanda's security apparatus. However, the very attributes that made him valuable would later make him a target when he fell out of favor with the government. Defection and seeking refuge. In Uganda, despite his years of service, Mutabazi became increasingly disillusioned with the Kagame administration, particularly its treatment of political opponents, dissidents, and former allies who had turned into critics. He eventually made the difficult decision to defect, fleeing Rwanda in search of safety. In 2011, he sought asylum in Uganda and was granted refugee status under the protection of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR. While in exile, Mutabazi lived in a secure location provided by the UNHCR, fearing retribution from the Rwandan government. He was not alone in his descent. Other former government officials and military officers had also fled the country, citing political persecution and Kagame's increasingly authoritarian rule. However, unlike some defectors who remained politically silent, Mutabazi was accused of actively working against the Rwandan government, allegedly collaborating with opposition groups such as the Rwanda National Congress, RNC, a South Africa-based opposition movement led by former Kagame allies. Ex-bodyguard, jailed for trying to kill Rwandan. President Paul Kagame, former bodyguard of Rwanda's Paul Kagame, was sentenced to life for plotting to kill the president, but he complained that he had been kidnapped and said he would appeal. Joel Mutabazi was also convicted of being an accomplice in grenade attacks that killed 2 people in a Kigali market last year in coordination with exiled opposition groups. Mutabazi says he was kidnapped in Uganda, where he had refugee status, and brought back to Rwanda to stand trial. Human Rights Watch said last year his forcible return raises grave concerns. The judge in Kigali found Mutabazi and another man, Joseph Nshimiyimana, guilty of plotting to kill the president. The prosecution said the Rwanda National Congress, an opposition group based in South Africa, had offered the men $50,000 to support the plot. Mutabazi was one of 16 people on trial, including 3 of his relatives. The 3 relatives were jailed for between 4 and 8 months. All those convicted said they would appeal. "Yes, I have appealed because I cannot consider this as a fair trial," Mutabazi told reporters. Extradition. Controversy. Rwandan exile. Joel Mutabazi, a former lieutenant in President Paul Kagame's Republican Guard, was pictured with his 4-year-old son, Emmanuel Mukazi, and pregnant wife Gloria Kayitesi in a safe house in Kampala, Uganda, in 2012. Mr. Mutabazi was abducted from Kampala on October 25, 2013, and illegally transferred to Rwandan custody, where officials said he was accused of terrorism and a bank robbery. He had previously served as part of President Kagame's bodyguard from 1991 when they were rebels. Human rights organizations and international observers have raised concerns over the legality of Mutabazi's extradition and the fairness of his trial. The case has drawn attention to Rwanda's handling of political dissent and the broader implications for refugees under international protection. court appearance, and charges light. Joel Mutabazi and other 14 co-accused appeared at the military tribunal on November 13, 2013. The former bodyguard of President Paul Kagame, who was controversially extradited from Uganda, appeared before the court-martial. Donning a plain green army uniform synonymous with military prisoners, a seemingly composed Lieutenant Joel Mutabazi was heavily guarded when he appeared in public for the first time since his October 25th extradition. The former presidential guard, who did not have a lawyer to represent him in the court that is located in this Nyamirambo, a Kigali suburb, was charged with 6 counts: illegal possession of arms, terrorism, spreading harmful propaganda about the current Rwandan government, murder and conspiracy to murder, and formation of terrorist groups. Alleging persecution from the government, Lieutenant Mutabazi deserted the Rwanda Defense Forces, RDF, and fled to Uganda, where he had been living as a refugee under the protection of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees before his extradition 2 weeks ago. While in exile, Lieutenant Mutabazi was accused of having taken part in a bank robbery in Kigali, but the accusation was conspicuously missing from the charge sheet when he appeared in court. He did not enter a plea because he was not represented by a lawyer. His 14 co-accused were charged with crimes including joining armed groups, forming armed groups, and harming and destabilizing the current government. I am not ready to proceed with this case because I don't have a legal representative or the money to hire one, Lieutenant Mutabazi told the court. The case is scheduled to resume on November 25th, and the prosecution has given Lieutenant Mutabazi and his co-accused 12 days to get legal representation. Recruitment and alleged ties to opposition groups. According to the prosecution, Mutabazi's involvement in the plot began after he defected from Rwanda and sought refuge in Uganda under the protection of the UNHCR. While in exile, he was accused of forming ties with the Rwanda National Congress, RNC, an exiled opposition group based in South Africa. The RNC, led by former Kagame allies turned opponents, such as Kayumba Nyamwasa and Patrick Karegeya, was labeled a terrorist organization by the Rwandan government. The Rwandan authorities alleged that RNC members recruited Mutabazi into a scheme to assassinate Kagame and launch attacks within Rwanda to create political instability. They claimed that the group had promised Mutabazi financial rewards, reportedly $50,000, to carry out the plot. Additionally, the prosecution accused him of receiving logistical support from other Rwandan exiles opposed to Kagame's rule. These grenade attacks in Kigali, one of the most serious accusations against Mutabazi, was his alleged involvement in a series of grenade attacks in Kigali, which killed 2 people and injured several others. According to the government, the attacks were part of a coordinated effort to spread fear and undermine Kagame's leadership. Prosecutors claimed that Mutabazi, working with co-conspirators inside Rwanda, helped orchestrate these attacks while he was in Uganda. The court was presented with testimonies from individuals who alleged that Mutabazi had given directives to carry out the explosions in busy markets and public areas. However, his defense team argued that there was no credible evidence linking him directly to the attacks and that the testimonies came from individuals who had been pressured by the government to testify against him. Alleged coup and assassination. Plot. The most explosive charge against Mutabazi was the claim that he and another accused conspirator, Joseph Nshimiyimana, were plotting to assassinate Kagame. According to Rwandan intelligence, the plan involved infiltration of Kagame's security detail with the help of insiders who were sympathetic to the opposition cause. The goal was to stage an attack that would eliminate Kagame and allow for the return of exiled opposition figures. The prosecution stated that Mutabazi's intimate knowledge of Kagame's security protocols made him a valuable asset to the alleged plot. His experience as a former bodyguard meant that he knew the president's routines, movements, and vulnerabilities, which could have been exploited in an assassination attempt. The Rwandan government insisted that its security forces had intercepted communications and intelligence, proving that Mutabazi was actively working with external groups to execute the plan.